Part 3, Chapter 3, Waiting at Vindar. I know this situation sucks for you, Nell. It has to suck for her, too. She doesn't love Desmocol. He doesn't love her. There will never be anything there. She calls to you, still wants you at her side. She's reaching out for you. Just because you can't be her husband in name doesn't mean you can't be everything to her that she needs. Love her, Nell. Don't walk away. Just be there and love her. Griff, Nell's friend, imparting wisdom to the man, long, long ago, shortly after Ravania's arranged marriage to Desmocol. Vindari System, Second Galaxy. I don't think he's gonna show up, Nell grumbled, standing beside Ravania on the command deck of the Deep Blue. As he glanced at her, he could clearly see her frustration, though her eyes seemed to be locked on the blue and green planet they were orbiting, Vindar, the homeworld of the Vindari. Ravania was dressed in an old Amara combat uniform. It was a common enough outfit for her to wear, but the white and blue garb was today reminding Nell a lot of Genesis. She'd worn something almost identical all those years ago, before the Hell War, before everything. Probably what was bringing it to mind so much was that Nell had shucked his usual blue suit and was in combat gear of his own. He wore dark trousers, a blue shirt, Goria pauldrons, protective bracers on his forearms. There was a belt around his waist that had brown pouches on it. This was the sort of thing he'd worn all those eons ago, when he had walked with Genesis in her quest to save the dying universe. The fact that he was wearing this, and Ravania was in what she was in, it was bringing it all back to Nell, a memory like a vivid dream, from another time, another life. It's not like it's the first time he's ever let me down, Ravania grumbled to herself, snapping Nell out of his thoughts. I'm used to this by now. Nell watched Ravania stand from her command chair. She looked to Nell with determination. We've made the Vindari wait long enough, she said. Will you join me to the surface? She asked. You don't even have to ask, Nell responded. Ravania smiled at him. She left her first officer in command and walked with Nell through the hallways of the Deep Blue, toward the teleportation room. They walked in silence, both of them seemingly deep in thought. Nell finally looked at Ravania and asked, What do you imagine held him up? Ravania shook her head. I doubt he had any intention of showing up in the first place. She let it trail off. It chewed Nell up inside to see her treated so poorly. What? Ravania asked, studying Nell's face. What? He responded, surprised he'd not noticed her looking at him. You have this really intense look on your face, Ravania offered. That's my thinking face, Nell responded. Sadness took Ravania's features. She moved and stepped in front of Nell. She looked at him seriously. Nell stopped and stared at her. You deserve better than this, Ravania said sadly. She reached out and took Nell's hand. She looked down at it, and then back up at him, her brown eyes glistening. You shouldn't always be at my side. You deserve better. Nell reached out and gently touched the side of her face. I will definitely go to the end, Poem, he told her, smiling. She blinked at him. She looked confused. It was she who had said that phrase to him long ago, minus the poem part. Why does she always look so confused, he wondered. You've called me that before, Ravania said, furrowing her brow. Why? Nell stared at Ravania for a long moment. Why doesn't she remember? Or do I remember wrong? Did I really call her Poem all those eons ago? You seem like a poem, Nell said with a small smile. Then he stepped around her into the teleportation room. He walked over to the round window in the floor and stood on it, ignoring the tingling sensation in his toes as he stared at the planet far, far below. Ravania moved to stand beside Nell. It's better whenever we're together, he said, grinning at her. She smiled at him and reached for his hand, squeezing it. Then she looked to the green-skinned Jassid man at the control station in the teleportation room. She nodded to him. Light and energy crackled up from the floor, engulfing Ravania and Nell, sending them hurtling to the surface of Vindari. They reappeared a moment later on a well-lit city street in one of the major metropolises of the alien world. Towers soared in the distance, glittering with light on the far side of a lush park. On the street where Nell and Ravania stood, there were signs of light, glowing blue and red. The area they were in was a little run down. The streets were quiet, empty, save some refuse in the gutters. Street lamps gave more light to the lonely street. "Nice spot," Nell commented, looking around at the mostly deserted area. "Just the right amount of people for my liking." Ravania smirked at him. There was a shout from above. They looked up, watching a line of people on the edge of a short building on their side of the street. The opposite side had a barrier blocking a ledge that looked out over the park. The figures on the building top were dressed in dark colors. They dropped down from their perch, landing on either side of Nell and Ravania. Without a word, moving on instinct, moving in tune with each other, Ravania and Nell went back to back in a defensive manner, glancing over their shoulders at each other before looking warily at the dark-clad group. There were 4 of them. "Okay, now there are too many people," Nell grumbled. On closer inspection, Nell noted that the 4 men wore turbans that wrapped their heads. The lower part of their broad face was covered in a mask. The skin that was visible looked dark gray. Each alien wore a sword. They glared with blue snake eyes. They had long arms, large bare feet, and thick hands with 4 digits. Even without seeing the creatures unmasked, there was little question that they were Prosethians. That could mean Zaku cult, Nell thought bitterly. Lovely. "Do you know these clowns?" Nell asked out of the corner of his mouth. "They're all wearing masks, Nell," she pointed out. "Good point," Nell said. Then he said, "Hey, do we know you clowns?"
"We know who you are, Nell Soro and Ravania Emenalia,"
one of the men in the group said. "Oh, they know us, Ravania," Nell said, glancing to her. "I heard," the woman replied darkly. Nell guessed she was getting the idea who these guys were, too. "I thought you would," he said. "Ask them who they are," Ravania prodded. "I already did," Nell sighed. "Maybe they'll respond better to you. I mean, you're way prettier than I am." "Flatterer," Ravania chuckled.
"Do you think this is a joke?"
hissed the man who'd spoken before. "Jokes are way funnier than this," Nell offered. The alien with the long torso and long arms drew his sword. The edge of the gleaming blade glowed with acid green light. The other short-legged warriors drew their blades too. Then, as one, they attacked. Nell and Ravania threw energy from their palms at the attackers, who blocked with their swords. Then Nell and Ravania were moving, twisting this way and that, avoiding the laser blades. One of the warriors hit Nell's left pauldron. In response, the Shadow Traveler threw a blast of energy from his hand into the man's stomach, doubling him over. As the Prosethian dropped his blade, Nell caught it in one hand and held it out to his side, snapping it this way and that. The sword had a good weight. One of the warriors hurtled at Nell. He blocked the attack and glanced over at Ravania, who was rolling away from the 2 remaining warriors. 2 for her, 2 for me, Nell thought. Ravania smoothly returned to her feet. She reached up into a pocket universe and drew out her sword. The blade ignited with flame. She slashed at a pair of assassins, scattering them. This lot was cautious. They knew Ravania's abilities. That was another good piece of evidence that they were Zaku called. Shaky, Nell thought. I really don't like these guys. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and there are more episodes on the way.